Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona, and this is the May 19th edition of Horses to Watch, where we do a little bit of trip handicapping, trying to find horses that might have encountered adversity in the races from last week and could be worth betting back when they're entered in the future. Let's look at three turf races this week from last week at Belmont, actually last weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We're going to talk about two races from that Saturday card and one race from the Sunday card. Again, these are all on the grass at different distances, so we'll get to talk about horses that got different kind of trips over that Belmont turf course. Let's begin with the eighth race from Saturday. This is a New York bred maiden special weight for the fillies and mares going a mile and a 16th. And I want to focus on the number 2, Constitutional Rage. Let's break these horses from the gate and check out Constitutional Rage when they come out of the starting gate from that number 2 post position. She's in those pink and green silks with the pink cap. She actually breaks towards the front end, but watch what happens right here as her rider does not show aggression and horses converge from the outside towards the rail, and she just gets totally squeezed out of position and basically goes from vying for the front end to now being about 8 to 10 lengths off the pace just because of that trouble that she had coming out of the starting gate, getting steadied all the way to the back of the pack. And that's detrimental to this horse because while this is a race that featured a relatively fair pace scenario, the first quarter goes up in 23. That's honest for these horses. It's not a race that featured a bunch of big runs from the back of the pack, and you can see Constitutional Rage now is all the way towards the right of your screen, the second to last horse on the screen. Because of that trouble she had at the start, she's now relegated to the back of the pack. Notice, though, the pace does moderate as they move down the backstretch, and where there was that big gap from the front of the pack to the back of the pack as they came onto the backstretch, the field really starts to bunch up as this group moves around the far turn. And because Eric Cancel, who was riding Constitutional Rage, didn't show that decisive intent coming out of the gate, he now finds himself behind a wall of horses coming around the far turn with really nowhere to go. So he just kind of has to bide his time and wait towards the back of the pack. You can see some horses now making moves on the outside, trying to get into the race. The horse who nearly wins this race, the number 4, the gray horse, she's the one, makes an early move to get into contention on the far outside. And Constitutional Rage, you just saw highlighted there, she is just trying to alter course at the back of the pack, trying to find a clear path. She gets it here, but she's just a little too far back to really make a dent on all of these horses that already got the jump on her. She's going to finish up decently in this race, getting up for 7th, I believe, finishing about 6 lengths behind the leader. I just thought this was a performance that was really adversely affected by what happened out of the gate, and she'll be able to do better next time out. This is a filly who showed some turf promise when she made her 1 turf start as a 2-year-old last year. This was her 3-year-old debut coming off a long layoff, so I think she's likely to do better next time out in her second start off that lengthy layoff. Let's move on to another race from Saturday. This was actually the feature on the Saturday card at Belmont. Race 10, the Grade 3 Soaring Softly, going 7 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-old fillies. Let's break these horses from the gate, and I want to focus on the post-time favorite in this race, the number 6, Toby's Heart. Now, she was a little disappointing because she finished off the board in this race as the clear-cut favorite, but I think her trip had a lot to do with that. Now, you see her breaking towards the back of the pack, and her rider, Manny Franco, does take her to that spot and gets her a position in about 10th place early in this 11-horse field. That's okay for Toby's Heart because she has shown herself to be more of a closer in her prior races, though it becomes a problem in this race because for an 11-horse field going an elongated turf sprint, there just was not a whole lot of speed signed on, and you could see nobody towards the front end is really taking that much initiative, so what you get is a really bunched up field coming around the far turn. The pace might not look that slow, 22 and 3, 45 and change for the half mile, but it's moderate for these high quality fillies, and you can see the entire 11-horse field is only covered by about 4 lengths moving around the far turn, and there's Toby's Heart now all the way shuffled back to last place with those white silks and white cap on the rail, and this is just not where you want to be because the entire field's fanning out now, and you could see Manny Franco just has nowhere to go, stuck down the inside. He's going to try to pick a path through coming up the rail, but that horse in the red silks right in front of him is going to back up in his face. He's aiming to get through a hole there, and it just closes up, so he has to alter course to the outside. This is a filly who needs to get into a rhythm and be able to gain some momentum to make her closing run, and she just never really gets into a comfortable spot to be able to do that until about right here when they're crossing the wire. She finally finds some daylight and is accelerating fastest of all across the wire, but it was just too late because the race was already over at that point. She got up for 5th. I'm not sure if she would have won this race if she had gotten a clear outside run, but I do think she was compromised by the trip, and she she's the kind of horse that coming out of this race, you might look at her past performances and say that all of her positive results, all of her victories came going 5.5 furlongs. So maybe she's that kind of shorter distance turf sprint specialist. This race of 7 furlongs, you might draw the conclusion this was too far for her, but I'm not sure that's the case. I just think she got the wrong trip in this race, and she might have been able to do better if she had ever gotten to the outside. Let's finish up with a race from Sunday, the May 16th card at Belmont. We're going to look at race 6. It's a starter allowance race, $50,000 going 6 furlongs on the turf. Let's break these horses from the gate. There was a big favorite in here that does not break. I don't want to focus on her so much. That was the number 9 Translate. I do want to focus on the horse that breaks right to the outside of her. That's the number 10 Jasmine-esque. Now, full disclosure, Jasmine-esque is a horse that I thought was interesting as a long shot coming into this race, and she's one that I would want to stick with next time because of the trip that she got in here. You see that she breaks with the pack, but is taken to the back of the pack. She's about 3rd to last right now in those white silks with the red sleeves and cap, and her rider Eric Concel is doing the right thing in terms of placing her towards the back of the pack because she is a closer, but what he's not able to do is get her anywhere near the rail. She is about 4 wide moving around the far turn here. It's a little hard to see because she's outside of horses, but she is moving 4 wide all the way on the far turn. And as they come to the top of the stretch here, you're going to notice that she gets floated out even farther. There she is, that chestnut in the white blinkers with the red sleeves. She's now all the way out in about the 6th path, much wider than anybody else coming off the far turn. Not only was she wide, but she was a closer who never got any cover in this race. So she was always racing out in the clear. That's just not the kind of trip that you want to get on the turf. Furthermore, this was a race that didn't feature much pace at all. You saw the early fractions go up. It's pretty moderate for a 6 furlong turf sprint that goes in 1:08 and change, and a horse who is forwardly placed is able to run away from this field at the end, whereas Jasmine-esque, she does cross the wire, 10th here, 2nd to last, but she never had a chance to get involved, given the wide trip, given that she never had any cover, and the fact that the pace was slow. So she's a horse who did have some positive turf form going back to the 2019 and 2020 seasons, had actually upset the favorite in this race when they met in a maiden race last year. She had campaigned over the winter on the dirt. That's not the right surface for her, so I just think her form is really dirtied up, given that she was racing on the wrong surface, and now that she was back on the right surface, she got the wrong trip. So if she's back in a similar spot next time, or preferably even drops in for like the $40,000 or $30,000 claiming tag, Jasmine-esque is a horse at a price that I think we might be able to cash on in the future going in one of these turf sprints at Belmont. Well, those are all the horses to watch for this week. If you want to follow these horses in the future, you can do so on DRF.com. Just navigate to Horse Watch, DRF Watch Mail. You can add these horses to a list and get stable mail when they run back in the future. If they have workouts or entries, you'll get notified via email. That's how I like to follow these horses when they come back in the future. So thanks for tuning in to Horses to Watch this week, and make sure to catch future episodes on upcoming Wednesdays.